History does not always change in centuries. Sometimes, it changes in weeks. In the autumn of 1912, decisions made in quiet offices and crowded streets triggered a chain of events that would shatter an empire and destabilize an entire continent. What followed was not just a war, but a turning point, one where powers shifted, borders vanished, and the future of Europe was quietly rewritten. These moments are often forgotten, but their consequences still shape the world we live in today. The Ottoman Empire, once the master of southeastern Europe, was in a state of terminal decline. For centuries, its presence had defined the political and cultural landscape of the Balkans. But by the dawn of the 20th century, the sick man of Europe was struggling to hold its ground. Decades of internal strife, military defeats, and rising nationalist sentiments among its Christian subjects had chipped away at its authority. From the corridors of power in Istanbul to the mountain villages of Macedonia, a sense of impending collapse hung heavy in the air. The empire's vast European territories were a patchwork of resentments and ambitions, a powder keg waiting for a spark. And in the capitals of the newly independent Balkan states, Belgrade, Sofia, Athens, and Sardinia, leaders watched with hungry eyes, sensing a historic opportunity. They saw not a tragedy in the making, but a chance to reclaim what they considered their ancestral lands and complete their national destinies. This opportunity crystallized into a secret alliance. In the spring and summer of 1912, diplomats and military leaders from Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, and Montenegro met in the shadows, far from the prying eyes of the great powers. The Balkan League was a fragile but potent pact. Each nation had its own agenda, its own territorial claims. Yet, they were united by a single powerful objective: to drive the Ottomans out of Europe once and for all. Their coordinated planning was a marvel of clandestine diplomacy. Military strategies were synchronized, supply lines were established, and propaganda was prepared to justify the coming conflict. Europe's major capitals, Vienna, Berlin, London, and St. Petersburg, remained blissfully unaware of the scale and seriousness of this conspiracy, dismissing the simmering tensions as just another chapter in the region's long history of unrest. The storm broke on October 8, 1912, when tiny Montenegro declared war on the Ottoman Empire. Within 10 days, its allies followed suit. What unfolded was a blitzkrieg a generation before the term was invented. The Ottoman armies, poorly led, ill-equipped, and demoralized, were caught completely off guard. They had underestimated the strength, coordination, and sheer ferocity of the Balkan League. Across Thrace and Macedonia, Ottoman divisions collapsed under the relentless assault. The Bulgarian army drove towards Istanbul itself, threatening the imperial capital. The Serbs and Montenegrins pushed south, capturing key cities like Skopje and securing the heartlands of their medieval kingdoms. To the south, the Greek navy seized control of the Aegean Sea, cutting off Ottoman reinforcements, while its army advanced to capture the vital port of Thessaloniki. In less than a month, the Ottoman Empire in Europe effectively ceased to exist outside the besieged fortresses of Adrianople, Scutari, and the defensive lines protecting Istanbul. The speed and totality of the Ottoman collapse sent shockwaves across the continent. In Vienna, the Austro-Hungarian elite watched with horror as their Serbian rivals, emboldened by victory, grew into a formidable regional power on their southern border. In St. Petersburg, Russian Panslevists celebrated the triumph of their Orthodox brethren, but worried about Bulgaria's growing influence. The balance of power, so carefully maintained by the great powers for decades, had been shattered in a matter of days. The war redrew the map of the Balkans, creating a new set of tensions and rivalries, not between the Balkan states and the Ottomans, but among the victors themselves. The disputes over the spoils of war, particularly the region of Macedonia, would lead to a second, even more brutal Balkan War just months later. but their consequences still shape the world we live in today.